put up a new thread on X. People are following me on X. You can get on there at JG_CSTT. I wanted to revisit this Adam Schiff question. People saw that Trump put out the mortgage document and he said, oh, Adam Schiff's got problems. I agree. And I saw a lot of people commenting on that. Somebody said, oh, Trump just put out a, personal information or whatever. He's in trouble for posting this private information. It's not private information. I don't understand why, but these mortgage documents, I understand why. It's a good thing. Open information like this, they're public because the bank is the one, I guess maybe if you bought your house outright, I don't know, who knows, but the point is they're public documents and that's a good thing, or at least it should be in theory. It doesn't seem to stop people like Adam Schiff and many others from doing crooked things with the money. Speaking of money, people can support this show by becoming a sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or by sending a one-time sponsorship payment to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. A lot of people are realizing that they had sponsored on Odyssey and were getting the show for free for several months. And thank you to those people who have sent sponsorship payments to paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. You can also sponsor the show and access sponsor exclusive content on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's more important than ever to sponsor the show because these persistent efforts to shut me down, they've been at it for 8 years and it's hammering away. As everything around me becomes more expensive, my income diminishes and it makes it increasingly difficult to continue the show, but I'm pressing on with your help, and thank you to all the individual viewer sponsors who make the show possible. The point is, I liked it to see Trump say, hey, here's information about Adam Schiff's mortgage problem, but people have focused maybe a little too much on this issue of his false statement of primary residence, where he's saying that the Maryland home was his primary residence. I'm not saying that's not an issue. Obviously it is. Perjury can be kind of serious. I know a lot of people have doubts if anything will happen to somebody like Adam Schiff. It seems like we hear about these scandalous developments, and even if, Trump or somebody like that brings attention to it, it just seems like there's never any prosecution, and even when there is a prosecution, nothing happens. These people just get away with minimal, maybe a fine or something. And see, that's what I want to be very careful about. I want to see somebody get prosecuted and this should ruin your career, what Adam Schiff is doing with mortgages. Not because I don't like Adam Schiff, but because it's criminal activity. And the guy is a lawyer. First he was a lawyer, then he became a congressman, and now he's a senator. And the idea is you shouldn't be able to break the law and then do those jobs. So that career should be ruined, Maybe he's got to go work at Best Buy or something like that. Let the guy earn a living, but not in anything where you have to make the law or, uphold the law, because if you're breaking it, obviously you're not the person to do that. Anyway, so also a lot of people had mistakenly, when Trump started tweeting that, they were like, hey, Jason, didn't you break this story? And the answer is no. I didn't break it. Somebody came to me in April or May. I had been helping answer a few questions, primarily because a lot of people have seen my street confrontations of people like Norm Eisen and Andrew Weissman and Ben Wittes. I think collectively there's maybe like 5 million views, 4 or 5 million views on all of that. So there's a lot of people who have seen me do that. And if you haven't seen those things, definitely check them out on X. The point is, I'm not trying to just run around and yell at people. I mean, I realize that sometimes happens, but what I think is important about those moments where I'm confronting, those moments where I'm confronting Norm and Ben Wittes and Weissman is that they're really densely packed with information about the allegations. I'm not just saying, oh, you scumbag, this and that. I mean, sure, I curse at them and insult them and things. That stuff sort of just rolls off the tongue naturally for me. I guess it's part of being from New York, but I just have been looking at these guys and their criminal acts for so long. Are we live? Did it start? Is it running? It is. I've been looking at these guys and investigating their criminal acts for so long that I know it like, what do you say, by rote? It's like ingrained in my brain. So when I see them, that stuff starts flowing like a freestyle rap or something. And I guess a lot of people who know what's going on with those guys, they can tell that I obviously must know something, or where am I getting all of that from? So I don't want to talk about who it was, but I was contacted by some people who wanted more information about some of those guys. And people might remember, I guess the first one was Weissman, right? We were looking at Weissman's mortgages and that whole deal where he bought that apartment from Leonard, what was the guy's name? You know, that dude who was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. So it all ties to that, right? Well, let's get that guy's name. Leonard, it's on X. Anyway, the point is, you know, Weissman, he had some screwy deal going where he got a $1 million mortgage, I believe it was, from a bank that was going insolvent the following week. And that's just weird. That's not the way banks generally work. They would know that there's a problem. And by the way, before we get into the heavy details, I'm back up on the High Line. Now, I would go that way to test why we had that failure yesterday. I've changed something about the failover system. Some jackass had a comment, obviously unknown person just trying to piss me off. He's like, oh, this guy has the worst technology. He can't even keep a live stream going. But I don't see too many people doing what I'm doing, walking all over the place, doing live streams. You never know what kind of radio interference you're going to get around New York City, and it's pretty easy to record something and just put it out later. I want to do it live. There's some excitement in that, and it's super easy to sit in your asshole house making shitty comments on Twitter with your Comcast internet. I'd like to see that person criticizing the technology come out here and try to do the same thing. So who was it again? I want to remember who this guy was. Yeah, we had Toberoff, that's who it was. Weissman bought these apartments from Toberoff, who was involved in the Towers financial Ponzi scheme with Epstein. It's very weird. I don't know what that means, but you know, everybody's wondering, where is the Epstein list? What is Epstein up to? We were talking yesterday about Mike, Limited Hangout Cyber Benz, and how he's saying the girls' juice deals. I just want to slap him every time he says that. That is the stupidest thing in the world, because I was thinking about that more. He's like, oh, you know, these 60-year-old billionaires, they don't know where to meet girls. They need Epstein. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Anybody who is a billionaire, no matter what age they are, they could just go to Vegas, go to the strip club. They don't even need to go. They hire somebody who's 30, go to the strip club with cash. This is what that guy, Lil Rod, remember what's his name? Rodney Jones, in the lawsuit against Diddy that was the immediate precursor to Diddy getting arrested, that I thought had something to do with it. We still don't really know. I looked at that Jones v. Combs lawsuit. I guess it was kind of stalled by the criminal stuff, but the point is he was saying that Diddy just sent some dude to the booby trap wearing the Bad Boy Records hat and would pay the strippers tons of money and they would come to the parties. Couldn't any billionaire do that? Why do they need Epstein to do that? I don't think they do. I think they could just, by the way, you don't need to go to Vegas. I think there's strip clubs everywhere. And, Lee will get pissed. He's like, strippers aren't hookers. Okay, fine. But I bet if you went to 10 strip clubs and offered 10 strippers $10,000, at least one of them would want to meet the billionaire. I bet. I don't know. I haven't tested that. Anyway, back to the main story. The point is, there's weird stuff going on with mortgages. And whenever it gets super focused on one thing, I don't like that. See, and in the case of Joel and Sam, remember Joel Gilbert and Sam Antar, they were talking about Tish James. And this was another thing, the same thing as Schiff, that she had signed power of attorney in Virginia or something like that, and it was a problem because she was the Attorney General of New York. So obviously people were saying, well, wait a minute, how can she be having this primary residence in Virginia if she's the Attorney General of New York? It's a kind of a problem. People like it when I asked George Conway if his wife knows that he's gay. He had a weird reaction to that question, didn't he? I guess she knows. But the point is, see, in the case of Joel and Sam, when I started talking about other allegations of criminal activity attributed to Letitia James, they got crazy and started saying, oh, Jason's a conspiracy theorist and this and that. But, with Schiff, when Trump tweeted that the other day, a lot of people said, oh, Jason, you broke this story. And I said, no, I didn't. It was Christine Bish. And the thing is, I didn't know about Christine Bish. This person who had been asking me about Weissman and Tillis and just a couple of other people had asked about Schiff and basically told me Schiff has a mortgage problem similar to, it might have been actually somebody else. It might have been somebody who saw that first Weissman expose that was so detailed about all the mortgage stuff. And by the way, I'm not a mortgage expert. I just figured out how to find these mortgages and then analyze them with AI. And then there are people who watch the show who are real estate experts and mortgage experts. And I run this stuff by those people to say, hey, here's what I found with AI. Do you agree? And so far each time they've been like, holy cow, yes. So that's a pretty good method. And it was interesting because I didn't know about Christine Bish. This person just said to me, Adam Schiff has a mortgage problem. So I went and did, it's almost like a systematized method now where I can find these mortgages. And by the way, it's different from state to state. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But Maryland and California, I was able to find them. And New York, I was able to find Weissman pretty easily. But put all that together, and then I found out about Christine Bish. And obviously this person who told me that Adam Schiff had a mortgage problem had seen Christine Bish's research. So we wouldn't have any of this without Christine Bish. And that's why I want everybody to know she's the one who broke the story. Had her on the other day. Really smart and nice lady running for Congress. And I think she would be great. Now, with her, it was quite different than Joel and Sam. Joel and Sam, as soon as I started pointing to all these other crimes that I allege Letitia James is involved in, they started getting very weird. They said, oh, Jason is a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, and particularly Joel really acted like a dick, which didn't make sense because I had a long-standing prior relationship with Joel. He had been on the show for 6 years, and I thought he was I don't want to say a friend, because it's not like I'm hanging out at his house and going out to dinner with him and stuff, but we had a friendly, cooperative relationship for many years, and he was a colleague and a friend of the show and everything like that. And so then when he just immediately started turning into a crazy dick, it didn't make sense. It was a real contrast to our past relationship. And then I looked into Joel more than I ever had before. And there were a lot of records of misdemeanors, you know, moving violations and things like that. Maybe he's an idiot in the car. Also, you drive around a lot in LA, so maybe, I don't know, I didn't get stopped by the cops when I was driving around in LA, so maybe he's particularly stupid in his car. But there was one misdemeanor that had no details associated with it. It was like, I don't want to say classified, but I forget what language it used, but it was, you know, it was all blank. It was like confidential, that's what it was. And I said to myself, well, what the hell does that mean? And I don't know. But I surmised that it could mean that perhaps he got somewhere along the way a felony. Maybe he had something in the car on one of these multiple moving violation traffic stops that he was getting that he wasn't supposed to have. And maybe that something caused the penalty to be a felony. And maybe somebody said to him, well, you could plead this felony down. Bear in mind, this is all speculation now. I'm trying to figure out why, here's pickleball. I'm trying to figure out why he's got this mysterious misdemeanor when all the others are so verbosely explained. But maybe he pled down a felony, and as part of the plea deal, he is now doing the bidding of whoever gave him that plea deal. So there you go, pickleball at its best. Maybe, I don't know. But that would make sense because there were other weird things. Joel had a copy of the death certificate from Tish James's father. Remember, in that weird case, Tish James had done the probate filing 13 years after her father died, which is weird because she's a lawyer. Why did she wait 13 years? Why did she file it pro se? She was the beneficiary in that. It was totally unethical, not legal, I think. And it just gave rise to so much suspicion. And rather than saying, wow, you know what, Jason, that's interesting. I hadn't seen that detail. Let's do another show about that, or let's share that information and explore it further. He started saying I was a conspiracy theorist and really aggressively blocking me on Twitter and all this kind of stuff. But I think that is evidence that Tish James faked her father's death and has been running a big scam for, you know, like 40 years, which is obviously a much bigger deal than just signing away power of attorney or claiming that you live in Virginia when you live in New York or whatever. It appears her lawyers are prepared to go into court and make go away. Oh yeah, this thing opened up again. And look, they have nets on it now because they don't want people jumping out. Can we see the net there? Net. You see that? I think people can see that. Little net so you don't jump off. Don't get any crazy ideas up there. But anyway, that was just so much evidence. I couldn't believe Joel acted that way. And Sam Antar too. We know he's a felon. We know he entered a plea deal and everybody, his cousins and everybody, went to jail. So, I mean, did that guy roll over on his cousin Crazy Eddie to save his own skin? And if he did, what kind of like sniveling asshole is that? I don't trust him for sure. But anyway, back on Adam Schiff. And in contrast to those two guys who I think are liars, when I had Christine Bish on the show the other day, I started asking her about, hey, don't you think that Adam Schiff wouldn't do all this documented criminal activity unless there was something more there? And what she said made sense and did not seem suspicious. She said, hey, I'm running for Congress, and obviously these people would love to sue me and everything, so I don't want to talk about anything speculative. I just want to talk about the evidence that I've seen and that I can prove. That's way different than getting mad at me and blocking me on Twitter and calling me a conspiracy theorist. She's just saying, I don't know about all that. I don't want to talk about that. But you see, I'm not running for Congress, and I'm not afraid of Adam Schiff suing me. In fact, I know he won't. Well, he could if he wants to. I don't care. He could have an idiot like George's brother do it. That might be more likely. Although George's brother is getting close to the end of his legal rope, he's really filing a lot of stupid crap. But so Christine Bish didn't want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it because I just don't think that Adam Schiff and Jamie Raskin, remember, we have all these people who are lawyers and also high net worth individuals, you know? I mean, I don't know, if you found out that some idiot rolling around in this park was trying to steal 80 grand, yeah, maybe that makes sense, right? But Adam Schiff, he's a lawyer, he was in Congress, he's in the Senate now. If he just said, oh, you know what, rather than steal money, I'm gonna go from Congress to a law firm, he could have worked for any of these asshole Democrat law firms in Washington, D.C. Name the firm, you know? Williams and Connolly, or there's a million of them. Wilmer Hale. Oh, that's maybe a New York one, but you know what I'm saying. All of these hate Trump, expensive law firms, Ballard, Spar, any of these things. You know, the guy was in Congress, and Adam Schiff was the ranking member and then the chairman of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. That's also important. We're going to come back to that. Remember when this was being constructed and the cops were here when I was walking around during COVID? And I was like, what the hell is going on that you're the only cops around in New York City? And wait, look, it's closed. What's going on that it's closed? Strange, it seems like people are waiting or something. Anyway, they were the only cops around in the city and they were the terrorist response group. But the point is, it doesn't make sense to me that Adam Schiff would steal 80,000, 100,000. Maybe he would. I think he could probably earn 7 figures as a lawyer. So why would he do that? Risk all that. And I think it goes back to the whole Mike Limited Hangout Cyber Benz issue where, you know, he's got stupid excuses for how Epstein is not blackmailing people. See, and again, it gets to the same thing where maybe it's not blackmail. What is blackmail? Is that calling somebody up and saying, hey, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to reveal A, B, C, and D? Sure, maybe he's not doing that, but the point is, it seems like one of these initiation fees, if you will, right? Like, you can't be involved in our criminal network unless you do some crimes and we have evidence of it. So go take out a mortgage and lie and write it down and sign under penalty of perjury and put that in the bank. And then once that's there and we know about it and you know that we know about it, then you can be the chairman of the Intelligence Committee and you can be involved in all of our highfalutin criminal stuff. Maybe, I don't know. This is speculation. This is me sharing my opinion formed by looking at evidence in the public domain, which you might look at that same evidence and come to a different conclusion. That's for you to decide. But I think it's a similar kind of thing. See, because a billionaire who knows Jeffrey Epstein but says, well, you know, the stock market is cute and everything, but 5, 10, 20% return, I want to 10x my money by buying, you know, I don't know, illicit Stinger missiles and smuggling them to whoever and getting involved in financing terrorist wars, or who knows what the hell these guys are doing. That was Iran-Contra, Adnan Khashoggi, who knows? But the point is, how do you get involved in that stuff? I don't know, you're not answering ads in the New York Times. Something's got to go on there, and I think there's this initiation ritual, and I think it's different for Congress than it is for Iran-Contra, but it's similar. Now wait, look at this. We have an encampment. Whoa, that's bad. Well, the cops are right here. So let's continue to explore this idea for a minute, because I do hope that people will go read that fresh Twitter thread. I literally just put it out. X thread. I just put it out minutes before I came here. Now, people might say, why are the cops here letting this encampment happen? These are the traffic cops, so they have to just sit here and text until they can give somebody a ticket for something. Here is the future of garbage. Still new. I think these things will be destroyed. I don't see how this lasts more than a couple. Look, it's already broken. Yeah, that's gonna break. Oh, it stinks too. See, that's idiotic. This guy should not be riding that thing on the sidewalk, and he's from another country. You can tell by the way he looks and the way he's. How did he get hit by an SUV? He's a stupid idiot. I don't know, in my mind, just think about it. Eric Adams was putting useless robots in the subway that I think they said that cost $400,000, and they used it for a week and then put it in the closet. Why didn't they get a contract with Waymo? Get Waymo and Tesla and NVIDIA and whoever else is making self-driving things and say, hey, come up with new mini garbage trucks for New York City that will just park right here, allow people to load in garbage, and when it's full, it'll automatically know that, drive to the dump, another empty one will show up. Why can't we do that? That would be advancing New York. I guess they don't want to do that. Is this now 2 Shiba Inos right in a row? That's weird. Unless a lot of Japanese people live here. So right, initiation fee, Adam Schiff. Because the problem is not just that he's saying that he lives in California and declaring his primary residence in Maryland. And also, why do that? Why not just, fine, have 2 homes and declare it as a second home and just pay whatever? How much is he even saving? The issue is that he kept refinancing the damn thing 4 times within like 2 years or something like that, or a short period of time. He had once where he refinanced it twice within a year. And then there was no record, none that I could find, and all that other stuff was there, no record of who satisfied the mortgage. So it just seems like more of this weird Andrew Weissman type stuff where he's refinancing again and again for no clear reason. It's not like he's saying, oh, you know, we're gonna build a garage and we need $100,000, so, you know, refinance this mortgage and you give me some money and then we're gonna start a construction project. It's just like, where is the money going? He's just taking money out, getting mortgage after mortgage, and it seems like perhaps the banks just forget about it, or somebody else is paying it, or something that doesn't seem to be really clearly designated. And that's the part of it that seems like the bigger scam. Because if somebody else is paying off his refinances and his mortgages, who is that? Who's paying that? And what are they getting? You know, this guy is on the intelligence committee. What's going on there? Is that how he's being paid hundreds of thousands of additional dollars to do all kinds of stuff to Trump? Someone says Kash Patel lives in Vegas with husband millionaire. Is that true? Tall Oaks says the interview with Dersh was pretty hilarious. I should have asked him about his first wife. Well, I just wanted to focus on what he was saying about the vaccine in that interview. It was pretty funny, thank you. But anyway, I want to try to get people to focus on these bigger crimes. It seems like bigger crimes. Looks to me, from the evidence in the public domain, that it's bigger crimes that Adam Schiff is involved in than just misrepresenting where his primary residence is. And it's also interesting that that's the same thing that Letitia James is being accused of, and that those guys got so pissed off when I tried to point to other things. Because remember, everyone's like, oh no, you know, you're an idiot, Jason. That's you know, a felony, and she's gonna get disbarred, talking about Letitia James. And it's like, yeah, but okay, on the books, by statute, it's a felony, but what those people saying that maybe don't realize, how much is gas over here? It's still expensive as hell. $4.79, $4.59 for maybe regular there. It was like 320 around in Pennsylvania and less in New Jersey. It was like 299. I think I saw 289 in New Jersey. But the point is, okay, fine. That's what it says by statute, that it's a felony. But you know, I don't know, if you haven't spent much time in court, you might not realize, but there's quite a lot of bullshit that gets over the line. And you know, you get in there and hem and haw, particularly if you know the judge, and if you are the Attorney General or a senator and the former chairperson of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Maybe they just say, well, all right, why don't we just, you know, we'll just say you're sorry and pay a fine and maybe suspend your law license or something. You know, they'll do something that appears to be a punishment, but it'll really be nothing. And then that'll go away. And then the whole public climate will be, oh, you know, that person's already been through court and now you're bringing up, it's a conspiracy theory, what you're talking about, you know. That's what they're trying to do there, in my opinion. And the fact that Joel and Sam had such a reaction to me bringing up that stuff about Letitia James faking her father's death, that was super suspicious, in my opinion. Here, let's go walk around this way because it's sunny. I don't want to get into the depths of the city yet, although it is super windy. That might be bad. So I think something like that is being worked on with Tish James. And I really do believe, can't prove it yet, but I really do believe that Joel is working for Tish James. What do people think of this? What the hell is that? Does anybody know? Ominous tower. Isn't that weird? It seems like there's no windows, but is that because it's under construction? I don't even know if it is under construction. So, that's Tish James. Adam Schiff, see, again, if this is the initiation, because remember, we saw other people had similar criminal stuff going on, and it's like this mutually assured destruction. Maybe it is, you know, people say, oh, if there was anything in that Epstein list that could take down Trump, then the Democrats would have brought it out. But again, that's like saying, oh, well, you know, if Putin has nukes, why doesn't he just nuke? Because that's the mutually assured destruction that they want to avoid. Maybe there's a surgical, tactical way to take out the enemy without relying on that, you know, H-bomb tactic.
Someone that looks like you?
I don't know. But so there's another guy that I was thinking about who I never heard of before, maybe like Friday or Saturday. Remember when Tulsi Gabbard came out with all this explosive stuff about Obama, which I believe is true. I think that's right. I've known about that for a long time. I'm glad to see her talking about it. Hopefully something happens with that. He's another guy who, you know, who the hell knows if anybody's going to prosecute, even though it's being spoken about. You know, Trump tweets that thing about Adam Schiff. That's cool, and the internet gets all excited. But will it actually result in anything happening? Is this some sort of artistic commentary on AI? A kid playing with a robot? What is he doing there? What is this kid doing with the robot? Ladybug hitting the stop button. It's weird, right? This guy couldn't walk around me. Got to make conversation. Anyway,
That's how they showed up when I saw them in Paris. Yeah.
it's cool that Trump is tweeting about it, but will anything happen? And likewise, will anything happen to Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey? The list is long. We really don't know, but I hope it will. So one of the guys that started going crazy when Tulsi Gabbard first brought that up. Oh yeah, before we go to that, look at this. Here's Adam Schiff. Do people remember when they had that hearing in the Jacob Javits federal building, the New York FBI building, or just federal, whatever, everything building? That was me. Schiff was in the meeting, not paying attention, just texting and whatever. And because I was looking at Twitter, so I could tell that Schiff was tweeting, and then I tweeted at him, you know, professional moron Adam Schiff is not paying attention and he's tweeting. And then he looked up and he looked over at me. Oh, this person's Corvette is getting heated up. I do like those windshield sunshades, but this kind obviously has gone flaccid. You need a rigid one. This is the Javits Center, remember, where they had the medical thing in there. It's been expanded now. Howdy. I really do like this C8 Corvette. They just announced the ZR1X, which is absolutely crazy. It's the 695 horsepower V8 from that, plus twin turbo, plus electric from the E-Ray. It's 1,250 horsepower. I realize that's almost every single automotive technology jammed into the car. They should make a ZR1XS and supercharge it also. I don't know if you could do turbo and super. Maybe not. Point is, that was Schiff looking like an idiot. But the guy that I've been thinking about, who I didn't know anything about until Tulsi Gabbard started spilling the tea on Obama and his plot to overthrow, was this guy, Jim Himes. I'm sure other people know about that guy. If you're from Connecticut, you probably know about him. He's the Connecticut representative. He's been in there for a while. He entered Congress, I think, in 2009. And what I just found out today is that he has been on the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence since 2013. That means he would have been in there when Schiff was the ranking member and the chairman, and when Devin Nunes did his whole Nunes memo, basically when the whole crossfire, hurricane, Russiagate, whatever it is. Here, somebody's food is there, and these guys are all delivering. But this guy, Himes, he would have been in there the whole damn time. Sick of all these people riding bicycles on the sidewalk. So Himes, here he is. He is a sketchball dude. So he was born to American parents and lived in Bogota. And the first part of his life, he was chilling in Bogota. And his father was working for the Ford Foundation and also this weird thing within UNICEF, something to do with kids in UNICEF. And that, I don't know, that's one of those things that always feels like years later it comes out that their thing to help kids was actually raping kids. I don't mean to laugh about that, but it's just so consistent that that happens, where these things that are intended to help kids are kidnapping them and killing them and doing all kinds of things. I'm not saying that's what this was doing, I'm just saying it's sketchy. And the Ford Foundation, it's one of these, you know, NGOs. Now, one thing that Limited Hangout Mike has said that I think is correct is that the CIA has been sort of decentralized financially and operationally to all these non-government organizations, NGOs, nonprofits that, you know, take tax-exempt money. They're all part of this big nonprofit network. Remember, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, that's a nonprofit. And we were putting together with Charles on his show last night that Tulsi Gabbard released her whole timeline where, you know, on December 8th, Obama tells them, no, I don't like this intelligence assessment. Give us a different intelligence assessment with the total opposite findings, instead of saying Russia had nothing to do with the election. Oh, look, here is a, oh man, what are these things called again? I can't believe I don't remember the name of this. You know, these trailers. Brain fart right here. Comments, help me out. What is this thing? Airstream. Yeah, an Airstream converted into a bar. I like those Airstreams. Yeah, so Obama didn't like the intelligence assessment. He said, nah, let's change it around. Oh, look, you can get a pet portrait here. Here's nice shoes on this dog. That's a cute little dog. It's got like running shoes. Oh, what a cute little guy. Or gal. Yeah, that's a guy. Wow, adopt that little dog. It's a Yorkie, huh? Are you going to adopt this little dog?
I might. I don't know.
Very cute, right?
So cute. And he's gone along with Lulu, so. Lulu, Pipey. Say hi, Pipey. Say hi.
So this is, you have one dog, and this is perhaps the new friend.
Who knows?
Who knows?
This is a
Cute,
portrait of
cute little dog. Dog City. Yeah, so Obama doesn't like the intelligence assessment. He just says, forget it, throw it away and make a new one that says Russia did it. And that, according to Tulsi Gabbard, happens December 8th. And I didn't realize until Saturday or Sunday, Adam Schiff quits Twitter December 9th, the next day. Now, is that a coincidence? It certainly is a coincidence in that the timing is coincident, but what motivated that? Why did Adam Schiff leave Twitter? He loves Twitter. That guy eats, sleeps, breathes, poops, nothing but Twitter since like 2009 when he was hanging out with Valerie Caproni and integrating the Twitter API into C-SPAN. Nobody in Washington, D.C. ever even heard of Twitter except for this guy. As a matter of fact, 2007, evidence in the public domain causes me to believe professional asshole and criminal scumbag Adam Schiff appears to have started the @Barack Obama Twitter account. Looks that way. Obama says a Senate staffer helped him do it. Adam Schiff was a Senate staffer. Adam Schiff is all about Twitter in videos that he's posting in 2009-10 timeframe, even earlier. I don't know if those videos are still around. I've archived them. But that dude is all about Twitter. So why does he leave the day after Obama gets all freaked out? I don't know, but I think those things are related. My opinion. That's pure opinion. But he does that. And then on the same exact day that Ben Wittes sends an email to James Comey, Adam Schiff issues a press release via, is it PR Newswire? One of those kind of things. PR Week. I think that's what it was. He puts out this press release saying that he's left Twitter. Now, it's a while later that he goes and starts working for the Television Academy, but he starts Sharp Things. I gotta look into that. When did he start that Sharp Things? He got all upset in court when I mentioned Sharp Things, that he's a political operative, also professional scumbag, Margaret Eskenayi. She's also pretty stupid. She's a lawyer. She got a big promotion working for Marriott after they destroyed me financially. I think that was a promotion. That caused me to think that perhaps Marriott is a deep state piece of crap. I mean, I use their hotels, but they're probably, remember what Hawkins used to say about hotels, that it was a network, and he was super intrigued when I told him that Marriott all had fiber optic internet. The last Marriott I stayed at, I noticed they had these 3 very big satellite dishes in the back of an otherwise extremely rural hotel. Like, I'm finding the cheapest hotels I can in Marriott networks so that I can accumulate the points and then get free rooms and stuff like that. But they had these big 3 satellites that I had presumed were for the internet. I don't know. Anyway, all this stuff happens. And so this guy Himes, now he is the ranking member of the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence. And again, my opinion, based on public domain evidence, is that that thing is not actually overseeing the intelligence community as it is intended to. I think it's controlled by the intelligence community, and its members are part of the intelligence community. That's why I think it was weaponized against Trump. It's why I don't. Where's my sound? That's why I don't trust Devin Nunes. Because you see, again, he was super focused on the Steele dossier. Doesn't say anything about Ben Whitty's email to James Comey. Spelling might be off. Frank Lloyd Wright. What is everybody saying here? King of England. Oh yeah, right. This guy Himes went to Oxford. He's a Rhodes Scholar, so he's part of that with Bill Clinton and everything. And I just think he's not to be trusted. He went crazy and said, oh, you know, Tulsi Gabbard's got to stop with this investigation and it's a dangerous conspiracy theory. Any idiot who comes out with conspiracy theory is just that, an idiot. Coming up with nonsense, trying to shut down, you know, probably otherwise legitimate investigation. I would go down there and test. Let's try it. Let's head down there and test and see. If the broadcast gets disrupted, I'll just end it because I've had a good amount of time to talk here, but we got a ways to walk. The point is, yesterday when it got disrupted, we don't really know what causes that. I did post it up, the uninterrupted version for sponsors to watch on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, which people can still subscribe to. Actually, thank you to somebody who got the AR cryptocurrency, said it wasn't that difficult. So I guess more sophisticated users who are down with cryptocurrency, absolutely, please stay on Odyssey. It's a great platform. But I get it, certain people don't want that. You can also see yesterday's uninterrupted broadcast if you're subscribed on X at JG_CSTT. But the point is, you know, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm watching for free and the broadcast got disrupted. Well, it sometimes happens. We don't know if that's active interference, problems with the software. There are so many things here that need to interact with each other properly to work. I did change something about the failover system with an eye towards making it more efficient. I won't go into the details of what I did there, but maybe it's helping. I mean, the point is doing all this walking around outer outskirts of Manhattan where maybe, you know, live streaming 3 megabits per second and higher, maybe not what the mobile network is super good at all the way out over there. It's one thing to make a phone call or send a text. It's another to have a continuous stream of HD. Hard to do. And to keep it running. So I don't know what the deal is with this guy Himes, but we're going to have to see what develops. I haven't heard too much today about what's going on with Tulsi and all that. Let's see if people are enjoying this Adam Schiff tweet. Oh yeah, 4,000 views already in just an hour. So here, let's see if I can bring this up for people to watch and enjoy. This might screw things up, but we'll try it. No guts, no glory. And we can talk about this. If you're not on Twitter, or X rather, maybe now is a good time to join and to follow me at JG_CSTT. Let's see, I don't know if it's going to let me join it. There's a bunch of things I have to do to be able to get that X content on here. I'm not really cooperating. So we'll give that a minute. But this is a Twitter thread that I put together to refocus on the details of Adam Schiff's insane mortgage fraud I think it's mortgage fraud. Who's paying his mortgage is the question. Why is he refinancing many, many times? I tagged Bill Pulte in a bunch of the images because he seems to be an extremely responsive guy as far as, looking around for evidence on X, or just in the public domain. And yeah, you see, the problem is there's so many Wi-Fi things up here. It's really amazing that this works at all. But he's looking around for evidence in the public domain and then making criminal referrals. He's done a lot of criminal referrals. I guess, I don't think he's a cabinet guy, or is he? He's the head of the federal home financing something or other. And so he was the one who criminally referred Tish James. I think he saw some of what I was saying about Tish James. It doesn't look like this wants to allow this phone to join the network. Yeah, see, everywhere I walk, there's new Wi-Fi networks popping up, any one of them. That's the thing. Maybe somebody installed some new piece of radio equipment over there that's interfering with this whole system when I get there. We'll find out soon. If it does that, we'll end. But I want to test. Other people were telling me, oh, get out of the way. All this kind of impromptu tech support in the comments is really not anything I'm ever looking for. Let's just see what's happening on the High Line while I try to get this thing to join the network. It should join it. It's right next to this. Not doing it, though. No. Well, I mean, people can just go to X at JG_CSTT and check it out. I'm highlighting the different ways in which Adam Schiff has been a criminal scumbag, allegedly. It's really just the suspicious multiple refinances and who the hell paid him off. It seems to mimic our buddy Andrew Weissman. And I mean, the idea is if somebody else is paying off his mortgage, to simplify this, basically what you could do is you get a house, any old house, doesn't matter if you live there and it's your primary residence or not, and you basically just take out a mortgage on it, don't pay for the house with the mortgage, and somehow the bank doesn't care. Somebody else pays the mortgage. You deposit the money in a bank account and just spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars on whatever you want, and somebody else pays the mortgage. It could be somebody overseas, it could be criminal adversaries, who the hell knows? And then the question becomes, well, if you aren't paying your own mortgage, who's paying it, and what are they getting in return? So that's a question I think that people should want to have answered. Yeah, I mean, basically in 2003, he bought the home with a $610,000 loan from one bank. And then he refinanced it 6 years later with Quicken. And then less than a year later, that was a $570,000 refinance. Less than a year later, he does another refinancing, $563,000. But there's no record of him ever paying it. 2011, he's got a sworn affidavit that says that Maryland is the principal residence. And then he refinances again in 2020, but there's just no clear record of who's paying it. That's the question. Who is paying this guy's damn mortgage? And that part isn't public. See, this is something I learned from our mortgage experts, is that the bank does not care who is paying the mortgage. They just care that it gets paid. And so it's not public who is paying it. That would have to come out in a subpoena, in some sort of criminal, or I guess if you got into some civil dispute over the property, but obviously, we don't have that standing to do that. It's somebody's going to have to bring criminal charges against him and subpoena these bank records, or maybe James Comer or somebody like that might be able to do that. I don't know.
It's like not done.
Let's see what other people are saying here. Servant. So what do people have? So this is around the area where we started having problems yesterday. It seems like it's doing okay today. Again, it could have been any piece of equipment that people were using. It could have been just a super jam out of too many people live streaming over here. Yeah, money laundering is another thing that this could be. There's a lot of suspicion surrounding this, and I think we deserve to know, particularly since, you know, Adam Schiff was saying all this stuff about Trump. So Teddy says, why is Rupert Murdoch going after Trump with the Wall Street Journal? That's nothing new. Remember, the Peter Smith story first came out in the Wall Street Journal. I think that Rupert Murdoch is an intelligence operative and basically always has been. And the Wall Street Journal is just a tool that they use. Yeah, I mean, why? That's the thing that doesn't make sense, is that it sometimes seems like they're for Trump, and it sometimes seems like they're against him. I think we were having interference over here, but we'll keep walking, and because there was definitely having interference further down. I don't know why. It's an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe he's just not doing something. It's a control mechanism. Remember when that little girl got kidnapped in Portugal? I think she's still kidnapped. I forget her name. But she was this little blonde, cute girl with some weird dot in her eye. And then they had a thing in The Guardian which looked exactly like John and Tony Podesta. And it said, this is an image of the kidnapper. But it was two different people, and it just looked exactly like Tony Podesta. Is his brother's name? Yeah, John and Tony Podesta. Madeline something the girl's name is. And I don't know, maybe, again, it's kind of like steganographic messaging, a way of warning them, you know, do what we want or we're gonna get you. So that could be it, Teddy. I mean, back to what I was saying at the top of this, if Adam Schiff is doing crimes and he's doing them, what does she think of the assassination attempt? If he's doing crimes as part of an initiation, it's like a gang initiation, right? You know, they say that if you join a gang, they want to get you on video killing somebody or something. You know, sometimes these senseless murders are part of a gang initiation. So that way, the gang knows they have dirt on you and you're never going to roll over on them because you're going to go to jail too. So, perhaps Schiff doing this mortgage stuff, that's his gang initiation. And so long as he uses that House Intelligence Committee to impeach Trump and put out all kinds of crap about Trump, then he's good. But if he steps out of line, maybe some article appears in the Wall Street Journal that says he's, you know, drawing cartoons for Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know. So there, we just walked right by there and nothing happened. So something anomalous was happening yesterday. And we'll never know what caused that or why. Now, I guess this is still not open. Why did the chicken cross the road? Is a lifelong question. I wonder if it will ever be answered. But, you know, again, the Wall Street Journal, it's like the New York Post. Why do they have so many stories about In-N-Out Burger? Why did they have Ghislaine Maxwell eating at In-N-Out Burger? What did all of that mean? We still don't know. We have some kind of field trip here, jamming up the stairs. International visitors. I don't know. If you come to New York, don't walk around in a giant group with all of your Metro cards around your neck and a blue tag. You just look like total saps, and you're going to get, I think, attacked by criminals. That's my opinion, my advice. It's a beautiful day. Nice day to walk around and contemplate some of these questions that we just might not be able to answer. There's Mother Teresa and Gandhi. I guess they were hanging out together. But yeah, let's do some more questions in the chat here. Tall Oaks says none of these clowns will go to jail. It's a strong possibility. That would make me sad, but I think a lot of people agree with you. I hope they will. I mean, that's the thing, you know. We've got these kind of guys like Himes, Himes, whose father was in the Ford Foundation. I mean, that's probably some sort of intelligence attachment of some kind. We've got Adam Schiff, who's, you know, running the Emmys, whose father was making videos with Cuban exiles and hanging out telling everybody that Lee Harvey Oswald shot from inside. You know, his father, Adam Schiff's father, was inside. Is this Elon Musk? Adam Schiff's father was inside. Oh, this must be Elon Musk. His father was inside the Dallas police station telling everybody Lee Harvey Oswald shot. I mean, I don't know. My father was in Brooklyn somewhere in 1963, or maybe not. Definitely wasn't in Dallas. Definitely wasn't in the police station. Definitely wasn't doing one of the first ever remote live video broadcasts to tell people that Lee Harvey Oswald shot. Could you imagine the immediacy of that? I don't think we can. You know? 1963, television itself was still kind of like, oh, that newfangled thing. And then here we are with a live broadcast. It was like, ooh, we're living in the atomic age. By the way, television is kind of part of the atomic age. Old televisions used to use a cathode ray tube, which is an electron gun firing electrons, right? Isn't that kind of an atomic particle? Electrons. It is, right? Neutron, electron. Anyway, they were firing electrons at the phosphor screen. And see, that's the thing, the whole... Right, Ed Buck didn't roll on Shifty. That's a good point. He went to jail. That's right. So what does that mean when we consider that? Before we go to that thought, I was just going to finish this. You know, the image that I got jammed up with in the Emmys lawsuit was of the Emmys statue holding... I describe it as holding a sphere, but what it actually is a depiction of an electron flying around the nucleus of an atom. Because when they created the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, by the way, I believe it was like 1948 or 1949, very closely adjacent to the creation of the CIA. When was the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences created? 1946. So CIA is what, 1947, 1948? All this stuff is coming about right around the same time. And I think this is all part of a control apparatus, right? They can give Emmys to Stephen Colbert and say, oh, he's great. And they can cancel the YouTube channel for Jason Goodman and say, no, he's a conspiracy theorist. They can give an Emmy to Andrew Cuomo, and they did, until they had to take it back for his sexual, whatever his issue was, harassment. But that's how that works, you know? Anything National Academy of something, I don't think I trust. I don't know, let's see, do other people have questions that we can answer on the chat as I walk here? Ed Buck didn't roll, that's true. Buddhism says more complicated leads to more complications. That is true. I agree with that. However, sometimes you need complicated things. I mean, it's pretty complicated to do a live HD broadcast walking all around New York City, so, you know, how do we make that succeed? Well, too many times, just going with one phone connected to the network was causing it to fail. So the failover system was implemented. That's two giant dogs. And, you know, there is some version of this failover system that is the less complicated. You know, it's like, what's her name? Who was hanging out with the three bears? Goldilocks. This one's too big, this one's too small, this one's just right. That's what it is. So there's like, for every saying, there is a counter saying. Whatever Buddha said, milk and hops, why would you want that? Where was it? Maybe in Mexico, they have some weird, I think, cactus type beer that's like foamy and frothy and milk-like. If you want to get super sick, drink too much of that. Actually, I don't recommend it. Veronica says Colbert is a twat. I agree. And now they're like, oh, we need to investigate this. It's a suppression of free speech. It's amazing what they care about and what they don't care about. There has been so much grotesque abuse of the law and the courts. So let's talk about Nina for a second, that goddamn bitch. Remember, I sued her once in district court, along with Ben Wittes, who is the, at the time, was the director of the Lawfare Institute. The Lawfare Institute. They're telling you it's doing lawfare, and that's a nonprofit thing. Nina's running a nonprofit thing, according to her. Oh yeah, by the way, July 15th was one possible deadline for her seemingly unregistered nonprofit to file its 990 with the IRS. That still hasn't been filed. There's no filings of that thing on the IRS webpage, and by my calculations, it should have filed its first 990. It started in March of 2024, so it should have already filed. Now, as I've looked into this further, depending on when their fiscal year starts, it's possible that July 15th might have been the deadline for them to file their first year 990. And I don't see anything filed. So I continue to wonder if she's not engaged in criminal activity, because I think she's a fundamentally dishonest piece of shit who thinks that me saying things that she finds mean is like a criminal thing, and that my First Amendment and Second Amendment rights need to be infringed, and that she needs to abuse the court. There's so many filings in court right now challenging Nina's nonsense that the court has not responded to. It's quite suspicious. Makes me wonder if Judge Wheat isn't in cahoots with her. I think she is. I can't prove that. I could be wrong. But right now, her behavior is suspicious because she's done things that I think are violative of the law and my rights and haven't been well explained. And when I've made now much more clearly articulated filings to that extent, they're getting ignored. This is the past of garbage. This garbage has no future. But yeah, we got all kinds of stuff going on in court. George's idiot brother has become somewhat reactivated, filing a lot of stupid crap in the Second Circuit. I'm not sure if it's going to get over the line. He's mentally defective, and he's filed a lot of defective filings. Look at how much stuff is out of business over here on 8th Avenue. Looks bad. Flynn stoned. Yeah, by the way, General Flynn, I think, was in on all of this. You know, he's doing lots of interviews, I guess, with Alex Jones and everything. Don't trust him. I don't trust Nunes. But see, then, Tulsi Gabbard, I noticed on X, is following very, very few people. And I'm pretty sure Devin Nunes was one of them. Maybe not Devin Nunes, but definitely Kash Patel. Kash Patel, you know, he was working for Devin Nunes, wrote that whole Nunes memo, which, again, it's not like he exposed Ben Wittes emailing James Comey. The Steele dossier was a dead letter. by the time Trump won the election. The Steele dossier was campaign propaganda intended to get people to not vote for him. But after that failed, they pivoted to that document that I showed Charles. I guess I hadn't shown it on the show before because I was surprised to hear Charles say that he hadn't seen it. I mean, I know he hadn't seen it at the time that it was written, because that was the document that Shane Harris had called him to talk about the very first day I met him at that interview that was set up by George Webb. Could have asked her what she thought about the assassination attempt.
Love it.
You loved it?
I loved it.
The assassination attempt?
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's what you say?
Yeah.
Oh no, don't do that. We don't love that.
Didn't like that. Good. That was the first person to answer what they thought about the assassination attempt. She wasn't even actually asked, but maybe English is a second language. Could have asked her. But Charles had never seen that document before, so that was pretty interesting to show it to him. That is what Ben Wittes was writing to James Comey about. So they create this fake document. This is what they always do. They come up with these schemes, like George's brother came up with the scheme to sue the fake company. And then they had to trick me to get into court because they knew that by suing the company, I would have to hire an attorney. So they get the attorney, Snyder, in on it, and he's getting money from me. He represents Felix Sater, who, by the way, Felix Sater is the guy who is emailing Michael Cohen saying, oh, we're going to get our boy to Moscow and introduce him to Putin. And I mean, these are all the lawfare scammers. And then I met Ben Wittes right there at the Stormy Daniels trial. So all these assholes are all over this. And I sue them once. I sued Ben Wittes and Nina once. And I got an injunction saying I'm never allowed to sue them again without seeking leave of the court, which obviously the court will just say, no, you can't have leave and you can't sue them. They've basically made it illegal for me to sue them. Isn't that unbelievable? Meanwhile, George's brother has sued me 20 times with the most defective, idiotic shit. And I just can't get a judge to give a Rule 11 sanction against this guy. It's such a blatant and horrible abuse of the law, of justice, of my rights, of everything. Everybody should be disgusted by it, which is why I get so pissed off when people are like, oh, you and George should bury the hatchet, or I listen to George. He's a goddamn criminal. Him and his brother. Sickening. And they've stolen 8 years of my life and so much money through their idiotic shit. They deserve the worst possible punishment. I guess we have a new apartment building coming in there. Anyway, that's basically the deal there. We have a network of intelligence operatives. Adam Schiff appears to be one of them. Himes appears to be one of them. George and his asshole brother. Could have gotten a lot of opinions about the assassination attempt. Hey, what happened to my sound? Anybody need a mattress? Who is throwing out a whole mattress? Brand new. Anyway, please become a sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or make a one-time sponsorship payment on paypal.me/crowdsourcethetruth. That helps. You can also sponsor on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsource. Look at that military-style vehicle. That thing's crazy. There seem to be less maniacs around, which is good. Don't forget to follow on X at JG_CSTT. See, there's some kind of radio interference going on over here, but then it stops. You can subscribe on X at JG_CSTT. That also helps. You're going to get sponsor exclusive content on there. And I mean, let's see what happens. Hopefully Tulsi Gabbard comes out with some more stuff. This guy Himes, we got to keep our eye on him. He seems to be some kind of intelligence linked guy in some way. I don't trust that House Select Committee on Intelligence or anybody in it. which includes Adam Schiff, James A. Himes. By the way, I was looking for his mortgage stuff, couldn't find it. He supposedly lives in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is in Fairfield County, but I couldn't find an address for him, and I couldn't find any public mortgage records for him. Isn't that weird? If anybody knows where he lives, send me a DM of some kind or an email, and we'll see who's paying his mortgage. Probably not him.